From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Do your eyes sting? Is your throat sore? And is it happening pretty regularly this summer? You are not alone. It has already been a grueling wildfire season across Colorado. Thousands of acres burned, hundreds of structures destroyed, 3 firefighters dead, and a helicopter pilot lost in a fatal crash over the weekend. But even if you're not that close to a wildfire, the secondhand effects of wildfire season are real. And that's what we're talking about today. Our guest is Delphine Farmer. She's a chemistry professor at Colorado State University who specializes in air quality. We've had her on the show before to talk about how chemicals in your home can affect your respiratory health. She's here today for a few tips on how to respond when the air in your neighborhood turns hazy and smells smoky. Delphine, wildfires have been burning pretty much this whole summer in Colorado. But my neighborhood only smells smoky like a campfire on certain days. Why is that, and what does that smell tell me?
So the wildfires that are happening nearby, we get these really strong plumes, and you can see them and you can smell them. You know, those days you wake up and you can't even see down your street. That's when you know there's a really big event, and usually those are events that are close by. Sometimes we get these smoke events where the smoke actually comes from states away or even different countries. We get the wildfire smoke from northern Canada coming down. And so the amount of smoke we're smelling and when we see it or when we smell it or when we breathe it, that all depends on the weather patterns, so the meteorological patterns, those patterns of long distance transport, short transport, and of course what's going on in the neighborhood and in the state.
Is there a smell or a visual cue that tells me when I should spend less time outside because the air is unhealthy?
Well, I think the first thing you should be thinking about is whether you see smoke. And if you see smoke, that's a great indicator to try to spend as little time outdoors, because if you can see it, those levels are definitely high enough to start impacting your cardiorespiratory health. If you can smell it, that's probably a fresh smoke event, so something nearby. So those will probably be showing up on your news alerts. But even if you don't see it, I'm a strong advocate of looking at air quality alerts. Often you can just see them on any weather app on your phone, but they also come through the local and state government websites, and you can even just go to airnow.gov and sort of a clearinghouse for all the air monitoring stations and for air quality, and you can enter in your zip code and it will tell you if you should be worried about the air or not.
And speaking of, we've seen several ozone alert days in recent weeks, and that's something I think that many people associate with emissions from cars. But wildfire smoke also plays a role in ozone levels. Could you talk about that?
Yeah. So if you have wildfire smoke, what you're seeing is lots of particles, but there are also lots of gases, those volatile organic compounds, the things that you smell. And that's just that huge amount of volatile organic compounds, all that smoke gas. What that's going to do is when it arrives into an urban region, it is just primed to react with the nitrogen oxides that come out of the tailpipe of our cars. And that makes a lot of extra ozone. So on a hot, sunny day in an urban area, when you have wildfire smoke coming into the region, you're going to get a lot of ozone.
Okay. And it's possible, though, to have a clear view of the mountains or the foothills, but the air can still be unhealthy?
Yes. And that's because sometimes we get ozone pollution, and yet you don't have that strong wildfire smoke haze.
We mentioned indoor air quality is a specialty of yours. What are steps that people should take to help keep the air in their homes safer and, a little more breathable during wildfire season?
I mean, the first thing we generally recommend to people when there's a wildfire smoke event happening is to stay indoors, because the levels of those smoke pollutants are generally lower inside than they are outside. But of course, there are things you can do to make that level even better for your health. So obviously trying to seal your house, so keeping all your windows and doors closed, that's a really good start, but it's not enough. That smoke's still going to get inside. So then what you want to think about running your air over a filter. So that might be the filter in your HVAC system if you have one in your house. If you're in a commercial building, same deal. They'll probably be running the air through filters. That's really good. You can also have a personal air cleaner. So just a little filter and a fan, and you can pull air over that filter and it'll trap lots of those particles. So those are some really good things to start thinking about. If the smoke is really, really heavy, you can't see across the street, then you need to, well, first off, you probably need to get out of that region. But you also might want to be thinking about wearing a mask outside. It's rare that we need to think about doing that inside. But other things that you can do is once the smoke has gotten inside, if it's a really intense event. So if you think about the Marshall Fire that happened a couple of years ago here in the Front Range in Colorado, houses that were really impacted by that smoke, obviously people shouldn't have been in there. But long after those smoke events, you still have the gases that are associated with that wildfire smoke getting stuck to all the surfaces inside the house.
Like a residue.
Exactly. And that residue just slowly comes back out over time. So if we have a really, really strong smoke event, then afterwards you might want to think about the most effective way to get rid of that smoke, which is to actually just clean the surfaces. So simple cleaning of your house, soap and water, mopping, etc., that can really help if there's a big wildfire event nearby.
Okay.
Obviously, heavily impacted, then we're getting into professional remediation discussions. But this is really for just thinking about smoke in the area.
Moving indoors makes sense some of the time, but, kids have sports and there's yard work to do. What do you recommend if people need to spend time outside?
Yeah, so I think when we have to go outside and smoke, the first thing is to take a look at those air quality monitors. And they'll tell you, is this a level that's unhealthy for sensitive groups? That might mean that someone who's got asthma really should still be staying inside or wearing a mask if they're going outside. But for day-to-day, going to the grocery store, you're not going to worry so much. However, there are other times where that level gets much more dangerous. And at that point, you really do need to start thinking about how to reduce your exposure. Less time outside. If you're going to be outside, not doing heavy cardio where you're breathing really intensely. And again, if you really have to, then thinking about wearing a mask is certainly an option. But my general suggestion is if those air quality alerts start going up, is to get inside.
So I don't have to mow my lawn is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I give you complete permission to let the lawn grow.
Delphine Farmer is a chemistry professor at CSU, talking about air quality during wildfire season and how to take care of your respiratory health. And if you want to hear more air quality advice from Delphine, check out our previous episode on how household cleaners and cooking can affect indoor air quality. There's a link in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.